All right, here we are back for our next 4 games review. We've got the Panthers and the Roosters here, 20-14 to the Panthers. Really, really strong game for them. They needed a good win like this, and on the back of Matt Burton's 106, but 2 tries, 3 line breaks, controlled the game, 339 kick meters at 212 on the running side. He was awesome, and the Bulldogs fans would be licking their lips again at the type of player they're getting. That's so young and can control a team like this. So it's good to see him get a win that way. But sad to see the Roosters, who have been doing pretty well considering where they're at with their team and the injuries and suspensions and stuff at the moment. So Teddy, Radley, and Manu really put them on their back there and almost got them there. But Burton's 106 for someone in the centres. You just can't buy that, can you? And that's why you go for someone like him to average 49 across the season. If you picked him up at the start, you've done awesomely to do that. So there's no point moving him along now. He'll just go back to the centres when Cleary comes back. If they happen to rest any of them, he'll go back into the halves again. So really, it's a win-win as to sort of what you're getting out of him. These big ones in amongst some 30s and 40s in the centres, but completely take that as you come. Tedesco, I personally bought him a couple of weeks ago, and he's been a really good buy. 50 odd and a 70 odd and an 80 odd in his last 3. It's been awesome. Try saver, try assist there, 14 tackle breaks and 4 offloads. You can't really go wrong there at all. So he's a must-have in that wing fullback spot for sure. Bradley coming off his 30 odd gets a 72. So if you bought him last week, you're happy with that combo of 50 average across those 2 games at that 578 price was awesome. Joey Manu gets up to 716k now in the centres, and who would have thought he'd be close to my best purchase of the year that early on. Really happy with that. So I didn't expect it. There was a point there where I was, and a lot of other people were telling people not to think of him as an option, and then he's absolutely exploded. Obviously, a bit of a chance to play fullback and 6 there, especially in that fullback position. He's really done well, and I actually like him if in fantasy terms on the wing. Also, just being able to get much more, many more run meters. Which there'll be games there where you get 50 to 60 in the centers, and you're like, well, he's obviously not going to be able to get the tackle breaks and score the tries. So him being in the 1 or 5 is great for that. It was early on. He had a couple of runs and a couple of tackle breaks, and it's just like, this is where we need to be. A couple of line breaks there and a try. He was awesome and another one of those great options in the centres. But I would be picking someone like Ramian, who's 570, over Manu at this stage if he needed some cover there. Kick out with a solid game, 58 in his 61 minutes. Actually all through base, really. A couple of line break assists there. Crichton, we're going to lose for 3 weeks, it sounds like, if he takes the early guilty plea. So we'll find out more about that on Tuesday night. But the score of 56, you take that with a line break and a line break assist, try assist there. But still 23k down, and we're going to have to sell him at 713. So hopefully have some trades, and we'll go through some options in the next few videos. But Isaiah Yeo with 52 in his 80 minutes, so good to have him back. He's obviously such an important piece in their team, and Martin playing big minutes as well was good. Edwards was solid at the back, Coruscant 47. Verrills had to play because I was like, I don't think Foggs is going to play this week. So I was like, all right, come on, Verrills. Then tackled well and got a try assist early before going off. And playing 56 minutes. So we'll take his 43. Another 26k in price rises. Not that I'll ever be trading him out, but it's good to see him actually getting back to scoring all right in terms of fantasy. But we move on. Good to see Momorowski back playing, but what a letdown that was. How good was he at the start of the season to then go missing for a long period of time after that hamstring injury, and then never really making it back into the team, unfortunately. Capewell had to play centres, which drops his scoring ability. He'll be interesting to see next year what happens. If he's sitting around that 450 mark and he clearly gets an 80-minute spot in the back row, then he's moving to Broncos, right? Yeah, so he probably should get. I'm assuming they're signing him for that role, so he'll be really cool next year at this awesome price. For someone that we know what he can do in a big minute role in the back row. And then Tupanua moved to the centres as well and got 14, so he was painful. I'd be trading him out if you still own him, but I doubt many do. And Spencer Lane, you getting 10 minutes is just crazy. So if he gets a bigger chance to get some more minutes next year, let's hope that we can do that. But 243 is basically how he's lost money over the year. I don't know, but yeah. That's that. And then Charlie Staines doing his thing with another 12. He's been great. So that's that one there. very, very long starter with the Roosters and the Panthers there. Moving on to, obviously, clearly the best game of the round in terms of the actual quality footy, but, Storm getting away with a 28-18 win. Both teams are great. Both teams are going to be there at the end of the year, but it was expected the Storm would get this one. I just think they're a cut above by far. So it showed that. Munster's been great. Mentioned him a few weeks ago as a good pickup. He's getting a little bit more expensive now, around that 54, 55 average price point, but still a great option in the halves. If you're not looking to get Cleary or you don't have enough cash to get a DC or a Hughes, then Munster's your man. Had his week off already, so he should be playing the rest of the year. Trbojevic with 2 try assists, 153 metres. So I think they cut down that a little bit because he's been obviously getting line breaks and stuff to get more metres, but sitting around that 200 mark. So cutting that down, I think, helped them a little bit, being able to try and contain him, but still got 4 line break assists. So he's obviously still able to do his thing, even though the Storm would have made sure him and DC were the focal points that they had to sort of cut down. But yeah, still scored well. Was a good captaincy option if you went him over Payne Haas still. Happy days. Olam with 60, a couple of tries to be expected. DC with 53, you take that just with no attacking stats. I suppose that's kind of why we didn't go for him as the captain, but he'll be great from here on in. It's good that when your players like this can still get a 50 odd in a game that's going to be tough for them to score really big, but then they have the games where they get 80, 100. And really help you out there. Ruben Garrick, another 2 tries, 3 line breaks, 52 points. He was good, obviously losing a little bit of cash just because he got astronomically high, getting up around that 6-7-50 mark. Harry Grant 51 in his time out there, so that was really nice. Obviously, incredible run of the football, 131 metres there at line break assists and try assists there to go along with 1 turnover tackle. So just doing a bit of everything. And again, we need to see him get 80 minutes for him to be really worth it because he's priced just under that 50 mark. At this stage, so that's that. Schuster, just a really solid game all around. Only 4 in the negatives there. Would have been nice if he ran the ball a bit more. You would have been able to get up in that 50s mark. But if you had to play him this week, you're not really complaining, are you? With 48 against the Storm, our people squad left him out, but that kind of worked out all right. We had most of our guys getting 50s. Brandon Smith with 44. So things have changed a little bit with him. The attacking stats aren't there anymore. Just remember what he was doing before. He was getting mid 40s in base, and then scoring a try or getting a couple of try assists or whatever he was doing to get him up into that 55, 60, 65, 70 and be a dominant force. So he obviously hasn't had that the last 2 weeks, but that might come, that we knew that was probably going to happen, that he was eventually going to slow it down a bit. You can't play that amazing the whole time, but unless you're Cleary, then he can do what he wants. Hughes, so again, can't do it every week, right? The 42, absolutely nothing going for him. Not many meters kicked, so 150 in total. 100 run rates is normal, but only 17 tackles is usually in the 20s, and then you've got no attacking stats. So 42 is to be expected for someone like Hughes in this type of game when things, they did score 28 points, but it's not 40 or 50 like he's used to and dominating. Tapau and Olakwatu, both low games. Yeah, I suppose the Tapau one's annoying if you picked him up. Not many would, though. Jason Saab with the try. Fanukins there. Nico Hines. So, that 45 minutes is what it looks like he's going to get from now on. So, he has to get out of your side, quickly. 54K down. It's only going to be, going down faster. 60, 70, 80. So, got to get rid of him now. I'd be getting rid of him first before I'd get rid of a Crichton or something like that. If you have enough trades. If you've got 1 trade left, then I'd be going for, Crichton or Mane, for example. I'd be removing them because they don't play at all. And then I can help you. Hines could get, if one of the halves or Pap goes down, then he's going to get the 80 minutes again. So that's kind of the option there. Pap with 23 in his 35 minutes, he's going to get really cheap for next year. Thank you. Morgan Harper, after his 2 incredibly high games, he gets 18 and still gets 15K price rise. So that says something, right? But he just wasn't involved as much, and we weren't going to expect the wingers and centers to do too incredibly well. As you can see, Parker there with 16. The only reason Saab and Garrick did well is because that's where their tries came on the edge. So that's that. Carl Lawton's going to be getting really cheap by the end of the year as well, and Tepai Morea with his return to the game with 6 in his 10 minutes. That's that. And moving along, we've got hopefully a couple of quicker games with less fantasy relevance in there with the Dogs and the Tigers. Obviously, a couple of guys here that have done really, really well. Stefano Utokumanu has really cemented his spot as sort of close to their top forward with Alex Twal there. 65 and he's 62, so he's been great. He's got himself up almost to 300k in price rises, but 52 in base was awesome for him, and just as they're getting the bigger minutes. But Brooks and Leilua, the two standouts here, 93 and 80 for Leilua and Brooks, and only one try assist for Brooks, but eight tackle breaks, 83 meters, 23 tackles, and 364 kick meters, just doing the job. Both averaging in the low 50s there. If you held on to Leilua, you're kind of getting a bit of love now in the last 2 weeks, which is great. And just shows what happens with these types of forwards where, tackle breaks and tries and offloads are their currency and how they go really well. So keep in mind that, I suppose, for next year when you're picking those types of guys, they're going to be, it sounds great at the start of the season when we're like, this guy's going to average a certain amount, but then it gets into the first bunch of games and they struggle a little bit, or they have a really hot streak at the start. You buy them when they're averaging 65, but then the rest of the season they average 50 or 48 or something like that, and your experience of owning them is a poor one. Whereas you could do it the other way. They could start really slow, average like about 40, and then end up with a 55 average. And they're going to average that 55 for the year, but it's just when you pick them up. If you start with them at the beginning, then you're completely fine because you just ride it the whole way. But if you happen to pick them up at certain points, you've got to think about the psychological aspect of it as well with these types of players like Leilua for sure. Meany was 61. Twal was solid. Again, he's improving his scoring the last bunch of weeks. Average low with 56, obviously 2 tries, 320 kick meters. Him being the majority kicker in this game, very much helpful for his fantasy prospects. But 93 run meters was kind of the key there, getting his hands on the footy and running the ball. So you can keep him in your centres now. So it kind of worked out well for us that we could lose Lockie Lewis. They got rid of him, and then Flanagan comes in for one game, and then they play Bailey there in the 6th role. So that's that. Adam Dewey with 54 in his 80, so six goals is helpful. Only 1 try assist, 164 run meters is the key there, which gets him up in a solid game. 41k in price rises. For him as a wing fullback or a half, both really adequate scoring opportunities for him in the mid 50s at worst. If you're looking down the line, we've got Sean Blore, 45 in his 80, so he's solid. Doesn't make too many errors or do anything silly in terms of crappy missed tackles, just run out of line or anything like that, which is really good to see looking into next year if he gets a bigger minute role. And by at 1 was solid. Bailey with 28 tackles and 4 misses was okay. 4 tackle breaks, so he had a solid kind of game there, only 70 run meters, but you'll take that for your 6 for sure. So he was all right. A little bit of lower score. Anyone else? Not really. No, that's what we're going to see. Zach Sini was 6 in his return. And moving to the last game, my favourite game of the week, with the Cowboys having a delightful loss. As always, Titans 36, so they come along all right. Fafita's still just playing that role off the bench, just expected every week from now on. If he happens to start come game day, then you'll be more surprised on that one. But 7 tackle breaks and a try with the try saver there. Much better than the week before, and you take the good with the bad for Fafita. He's still averaging 71 for the year, so he's got a bunch of 100 scores and then a couple in the 40s or 50s. It's just depending week when you captain him. So if you captain him every week, you get that 71 average over the year. Similar to think with Cleary, just don't play captaincy roulette. The good thing with him is you can just set and forget. And Fafita's basically been that, even off the bench anyway. He's got 100 off the bench, a 43 and a 69, so he's been solid. Kyle Felt with 60, Tino with 57 in his big minutes, so anytime he's going to do that, he's going to get big scores for sure. Toby Sexton with another 83k in price rises. It sounds like there's every chance that he keeps that spot. So if you picked him up and you're playing him, you're absolutely having a field day for sure. Holmes and Brimson, 54 and 53 respectively. Again, not too much relevance for those guys. Tommy Dearden with 45 and a try, so an okay game for him. Obviously, snuck the try, but 45. Another 12k in rises. Gained a bit over 100k since moving to the Cowboys, so he's been a solid investment. But that's the kind of the thing. It's like, okay, he's a bit of like that mid-level cash cow, but then you're gonna have to trade him out because you can't play him every week. That's something to think about with these types of guys. Taumalolo, 36. What do we think of him on the edge, for example? What do you think he looked like? How do you think he's been used this year? And for him being the number 1 forward in the game for the last couple of years, really, what's happened to him? He just doesn't break any tackles anymore. I know there seems to be less vigor in his running. He's running less meters. feel like they would have given him a bit more ball. Like to have one tackle break on an edge when you're running at halves and you're Taumalolo, like it's basically like that last week for Fafita was basically unheard of. For him to get like one tackle break or whatever it was, on an edge, like it's just you're coming up against centers and obviously your second rower, your half and your center. Like if you can't break tackles or do anything there, then where can you do it? That's kind of the worry with Lolo. And can you even play him anymore? It's turned around pretty quick, from going from 60 odd, 60 odd, 60 odd to then, lucky to get anywhere close to 50. So I suppose we're going to have to keep playing him with all the injuries and stuff, but he's been a bit of a pain in the ass, that's for sure. All right, let's fix that up. Cool. And that's about it, really. Yeah, Talangi got injured at the start. That's it. Drinkwater with the lower one. Again, someone you probably want to look to dropping a fair bit of cash over the next bunch of weeks so you can get him at like 400, 500. Hopefully he turns into a keeper over the next few years as he improves as a player as well. But there you go, guys. That's the last 4 games of the round. Pop in the messages there how you went for the week, and we'll look forward to going through the People Squad and my team also with those results. So hope you enjoyed that, guys. Catch you in the next one. Have a good day.